Okay, so we are starting the class today. So in today's class, I'll be discussing the synchronous machines. Now, what is left for us to discuss is that we have left the braking mechanism, because if you will see in this assignment, the questions are related to synchronous machines, right? So, but we have to discuss that electrical braking and also what you say, this single phase induction motors also. So I will be taking one extra class next week Sunday. So next week Sunday means it is on 13th. Okay, 13th 2 hour class I will take from 5 to 7. The NPTEL people will also what you say contact with you people. I will take the extra class for discussing the theory, because as such there are no assignment questions from the previous years and also in the present years from those two topics, but there may be questions right in the final exam. So what I'll do is I'll be discussing the induction machine, single phase induction machine, and the braking methods in the induction machine for in the next extra class. Okay. But for this class, we have to discuss synchronous machines. So in these last two assignments, we'll be focusing on the synchronous machines. Okay. So let us now then start with this. So if you see, this is the synchronous machine, right? Now in synchronous machine, what happens that in induction machine, what you were doing, that you were having a three-phase distributed winding in the stator for the induction machine. And in the rotor, you were having the three-phase distributed winding, but those three-phase distributed winding were shorted. Okay. In the case of squirrel cage and in slip ring, it was shorted, but through it, if you can connect also the external resistance also. But in general, the most of the induction machines which we use is squirrel cage, and in those squirrel cage induction machine, the rotor terminals are short circuited, right? So it was a singly excited machine. Like if suppose you are operating it as the motor, so the only excitation is the prime mover input. So if you want to run it as generator, suppose. So because when we talk about the doubly excited or singly excited machine, we want to related to the generating operation. Okay. So if suppose we go to induction machine, now in induction machine, what happens is that if you want to operate it as generator, so what you do is you basically give the prime mover input. Okay. So only the prime mover input is the you say your this singly excitation. Okay. So this. However, when it comes to the synchronous machine, now in the synchronous machine, what in synchronous generators, what you have is you have doubly excited machine. So what is this? So first is the stator winding. Now stator winding is similar to the induction machine, which is the three-phase distributed stator winding. However, in the rotor, you do not have a three-phase winding, you have a field winding. Okay. So you in the synchronous machine, what you do, you the field is provided by using this field winding. Okay. So the what are the two excitation for the synchronous machine? One is this field winding DC current which you pass through it to create the field, and another is the prime mover input. So synchronous machine are doubly excited machines, whereas induction machine is a single excited machine. Now what happens is that because you can create the field independently, so what happens that you can operate the synchronous machine by varying the by varying the field current to either operate it in the lagging mode or leading mode, whether it is in whether it is acting as synchronous generator or synchronous motor. However, in the induction machine, what happens that because you do not have this provision for providing the field, so what happens for creating the field, what it does in how we were getting the field in the three phase windings by it was taking current from the grid. So what was happening that the part of the power which it was drawing from the grid, it was using to set up a magnetic field. So what happens that so whatever power is exchanged by the induction machine, it is always lagging. Okay. There is no, so what will happen is that so if suppose if you want to improve the power factor, like suppose you want to use some big machines like big synchronous motor or big machines. So what happens is that in that case, generally synchronous machines are preferred, because what happens is that here you have the provision to also provide the power factor support, right? But that is not possible with the induction machine, because it always draws the reactive power for setting up the magnetic field. Okay. So these are the two types of synchronous machine. One is the cylindrical rotor type. So here in the three-phase stator is still the distributed three-phase windings. However, in the rotor, what you have this cylindrical structure, and in this cylindrical structure you have slots where this this DC field is passed. Okay. However, in the salient pole, as you can see, this rotor structure is not cylindrical. It is having a non-uniform distribution, right? So what happens is that in this cylindrical rotor, the air gap between the stator and rotor is uniform. However, in this salient pole machine, what happens is that this air gap is non-uniform. So as you will see that for suppose we want to create the magnetic field, like suppose we are passing the DC current, suppose if we pass the DC current, then what will happen is a magnetic field will be produced. Let us say that this synchronous machine, we want to operate it as generator. So what we will do is that we are running the prime mover input. So prime mover is making this rotor to run at synchronous speed, and then you are passing the DC field to set up the magnetic DC current to set up the magnetic field. So what is happening that because of the DC current, the magnetic field is stationary, but because you are running this rotor using the prime mover, that magnetic field is also made to rotate along with this, right? Because this DC this windings are rotating, so magnetic field will also rotate along with it. But if you think, if this rotor is stationary, then you will see that the magnetic field which is produced by this DC winding, it is actually stationary. So when the rotor is stationary, that field is also stationary, and when the rotor is running, that field also runs along with the rotor speed. Okay, so in the synchronous machine, the rotor speed is kept at synchronous speed. Okay. So that is the thing. Now what happens is that but you see, the EMF which is induced in this three-phase windings of the stator, so what happens is this magnetic field cuts this stator field windings. So because of that, the EMF is induced. Now because we want our EMF to be sinusoidal, so the flux density which is passing through the air gap should be sinusoidal. So in the case of the cylindrical rotor machine, what happens is that this three this these windings, if you see in the rotor, are distributed in such a way such that you achieve the three-phase distributed. Three-phase means this is sinusoidally distributed what you say magnetic field in the air gap. However, in the salient pole rotor, you achieve it not by this distribution, but by what you say by this. If you see this pole shoe, it is chamfered in such a way that this makes the air, because of this non-uniformity in the air gap. If you will see, if I draw the air gap, if you see this, so this is the air gap, right? Now if you see, it will be something like this, that you will be having a non-uniform air gap structure. So you see, so wherever this, so this is from, so what I am doing is I am viewing this in the lateral view. Okay, so if suppose this is circular like this, right? So what I'm doing, I'm cutting it at this place, and then I'm just stretching this to see the lateral view. Now what happens is that you see this place. So from this place to this place, you can see that the air gap is less. But from this place to this place, so I'll use some other color. You can see that the air gap is more, right? So but this by shaping this pole shoe in such a way, you can achieve the sinusoidal distribution of the magnetic field in the air gap. Okay, so here it is done by using the distributed winding by, so this uh, sinusoidal flux density in air gap for cylindrical rotor induction machine is achieved by using the distributed winding. So here you can see that we have slots and then you are distributing the winding as you were doing it for this stator, okay, by using distributed winding. For salient pole, it is done by properly shaping the pole shoe, okay, like this. So this is the thing. Now you will see that because you have, because what you're doing in the rotor, either for this cylindrical rotor type of synchronous machine or in the salient pole type of synchronous machine, what you are doing, you are providing the DC current in the rotor. So and you remember that the rotor is rotating. So we know that what we need to do is we need to have a pole shoe brush arrangement. Now, because this is DC, for DC, because this is DC, so you will have only two terminals. One is positive terminal and one is negative terminal in the rotor. Okay, so you will need this pole shoe brush arrangement. Only two. I'm saying pole shoe means this two brush and the this commutator arrangement. Okay, so two brush and slip ring arrangement. Okay. So someone may ask that why we are not do why this synchronous machine we are making like this. Like in the DC machine, what happens is that this this three this not in DC machine. I'm saying in general, like what may happen. You may ask that we why we are placing these windings in the stator only, these armature windings. You could have placed these windings in the rotor, right? And this field winding in the stator. But why we are not doing that is because if you place this three-phase windings in the rotor, so what will happen? You will need like six pole shoe the six brushes arrangements, right? Because for each of the phase you will need like that. Another thing is that because you will see that in the synchronous machine, the power rating of this armature windings is very huge. Okay, so this brushes have to handle very high current. Okay, so this brush current rating also increases very much if you place this armature windings in the rotor. That is why in a standard design, like what is done is that in the rotor you place the what you say this DC windings for the field, and in the stator you place the armature windings. In small synchronous machines, reverse is also done, but in most of the cases, in the large machines, this is how the connection is made. Okay, so in the rotor, you place the field windings and in the stator, you place the armature windings. Okay. So now let us see another thing. Now you see that, let us say that, so if we take the case of the synchronous motor. So in the case of synchronous motor, what you will do? You will supply the stator windings by a separate output supply. So let me just add this person. So, this theory I am discussing because you should know, right? This sir has also discussed in more detail. He has like taken like about 8 to 10 hours to discuss all the things, but I have to discuss these things in a short time along with the questions. So I'm not discussing it in that much detail, but I am trying to cover as much as possible. Okay. So if you have any doubt, please ask. Okay. So I'm just discussing the structure of the synchronous machine right now, and then I will discuss the equivalent circuit diagram as well as the what this phasor diagram. Okay, so and you will see that the most of the questions you will be solving, it will be based on the phasor diagram. Okay, these are the theory questions if it comes in the exam. So now you see, for the synchronous machine, if you want to operate it as the motor, so what you will do, you have the three-phase windings in the stator. Now you will connect it to the grid or any three-phase supply. So what will happen that this three-phase supply will what will happen is, because of the three-phase supply distributed in time, and you are supplying it to the three-phase windings distributed in the space. So what will happen? There will be a rotating magnetic field. So this magnetic field will rotate at what speed? It will move at synchronous speed, where the synchronous speed and the frequency of the supply. So if you give a supply externally like this, okay. Suppose the supply has frequency f. So what will be this speed ns? So here sir has written 1500 rpm for some particular number of poles, but in general expression it is related as 120 f by p. Okay, is where p is the number of poles and f is the frequency. So this will be the speed of this rotating magnetic field. Now, but however, you see the rotor, in the rotor you are giving what? You are giving a DC supply. Now you are giving a DC supply, but so for a DC supply, for DC supply, field is stationary. Remember. For AC supply, three-phase AC supply, remember, not single phase. Okay. This we have derived also, if you remember, in the case of induction machine, some when we discuss this. For three-phase AC supply to three-phase windings distributed in space, field is rotating. So that is why you are giving a three-phase AC supply to this three-phase windings distributed in space of the stator. You are having a rotating magnetic field. However, because you are giving a DC supply to the this field winding in the rotor, you are having a stationary field. Okay, but will the torque be produced? Because for the motor to run, what should happen? There has to be a torque applied on the rotor, right? So you will see that the torque will not be produced. Okay, because for torque to be produced, the two magnetic fields must rotate at same speed. Okay. But here what is happening? The magnetic field in the stator is at this speed. Whereas the magnetic field in the rotor right now, if you say NR is zero, so the rotor will not move. That is why for running the synchronous motor, what you need to do is you need to externally use some arrangement. Like either you need to run it by external motor, and then once by making this rotor to run by external mechanism, what you do is you bring it at the same speed. You bring it at the synchronous speed, okay, ns, by using the external arrangement. Once it is at this ns speed, what happens now? The torques can be produced. So this torque, so after this, now the torque can interact, and now you can remove the external this arrangement also. Then you will see that the rotor will continue to rotate at synchronous speed, okay, even if you remove the external this arrangement. That is why initially for the synchronous motor to start, what you need to do is you need to use some arrangements by using separate motor, or sometimes what is done is that this you have some switching arrangements in this windings, such that you have this short circuited bars, okay, in the rotor. So what happens, that short circuited bars in the rotor, it mirrors the what you say, this induction motor action. So in induction motor, what happens that because of this short circuited bars, this rotating magnetic field produces an EMF. Now in that short circuited bars, which are also three phase distributed, So because of that EMF, the current passes through that three-phase distributed winding. Now what is happening? Three-phase AC supply to this three-phase distributed bars of the rotor. So the rotating magnetic field which will be produced in the rotor bars will also be at the synchronous speed. Okay, so then the two magnetic fields can interact and then the torque can be produced. That is how the induction motor runs. But in synchronous motor, it does not happen. That is why there are some mainly two arrangements used. One is to use an external motor, or another is to provide it by short circuited bars, three-phase distributed short circuited bars in the rotor, which will imitate the action of the induction motor. Okay, so this is one problem with the synchronous motor. Okay. Now, but you know, there are various advantages of synchronous motor because we are having a separate field winding. So it does not need to draw the reactive power for producing the magnetic field. So this motor can operate in leading power factor also, lagging power factor also. You have freedom. Okay, that is why in various places you will see that if some synchronous generators, if they are retiring some synchronous generators, what they do is they again reuse it as synchronous condenser. So for improving the power factor by, so synchronous condenser is what? So I'll just write. So synchronous condensers are synchronous motors running at leading power factor for improving the overall power factor of the system. Okay, to make it because you will see that most of the loads in our homes, like fans, refrigerators, ACs, okay, those are basically and even if you see the motors, the pumps, and so and very most of the loads you will see are induction motors, and they're lagging in nature. As I said, the induction motor takes the reactive power for setting up the magnetic field, so that is lagging in nature. So what happens is the overall power factor in the system becomes lagging. But what happens at lagging power factor is that your power quality reduces. Okay. So so that is why you have to, so you, for improving the power factor, you have various arrangements, like you use statcoms, you use synchronous condensers like this, so that the power factor is improved. Okay, that is why this synchronous machine is important, because synchronous machine can improve the power factor. That is why you will see that most of the thermal power plants and hydel power plants, they use synchronous generators so that they can provide this provide the power factor which is required by the system. Okay, so that is the thing. Now let us come to this.
Actually, what is the difference between the permanent magnet synchronous and the one which we are discussing now?
So right now the field, if you will see in the field we are having electromagnets. Okay, so you need to use a DC battery externally to, and you need to have a this slip ring, brush arrangement, because rotor is rotating, right? So you need to provide this DC field using a brush arrangement to this electromagnet. But in the permanent magnet, that brush arrangement is not required. That you directly have a magnet inside for setting up the magnetic field.
And the magnetic field there, it is controlled via magnets itself.
Ha ha.
And the stator will have the excitation through a controller, basically.
Yes. So what happens is that permanent magnets, so because you are using permanent magnets, so you're not using the, what you say, external slip rings, brushes arrangements. So maintenance reduces. Okay. So you will see in various offshore wind farms or some remote places, permanent magnets are preferred because you do not.
All about the electric vehicles mainly.
Yes. Yes. Now, but if you will see, still most of the people still go for this because permanent magnets require that rare earth elements. Now it is very difficult to find, right, that the supply. So that is why in some of the places, because they do not want to depend on other countries, they still use this slip ring arrangement with the this electromagnet.
The efficiency vary between electrically excited synchronous and the permanent magnet. Will it be excited efficiency be lesser?
I actually do not know. It depends also on the permanent magnet also, right? The rare earth element which you are selecting also. It depends on that dipoles and how it is magnetized, and also what kind of this windings you are using in this. So it depends on that. Okay. Uh, okay. So let's come back here in the class. So now let us, as I said, here there is a generator mode of operation. So for generator mode of operation, what happens is that you have a prime mover. Here, prime mover you are giving to this field winding. So what happens is that because so this field winding, as I said, is rotating because it is in the rotor, right? And it is rotating because of this prime mover. Now because of this, what happens that if it is this cylindrical rotor, so in the cylindrical rotor, the in the air gap the magnetic field is made sinusoidal using this distributed windings in the rotor, and in the case of the salient pole rotor, it is made sinusoidal by using this by shaping this pole shoe properly. Okay, so because of that, in the air gap you have a sinusoid mmf which is rotating. So what happens that when it interacts with the stator windings, the emf is induced in each of the three phase. So you see, first it is induced in the a phase, because you see a phase is, so if you see, let us say that this is the field. Okay, so let us say this is the field here. So first it will interact with the A phase, then it is moving like this, then it will interact with B phase, right? And then it will move, and then it will interact with C phase. So because there is a space distribution, so what happens in this three phase AC voltages, there is a phase lag, right? So what you have is that A phase voltage, you have like this E phase sine omega t. EB is E phase sine omega t minus 120, and so on. EC equal to E phase sine omega t plus 120, like that. Okay, because it is because of the space distribution. Okay, so and this is the formula of this E phase. If you will see, sir has derived it in the lecture. If you will go to this week 11 lectures, there are multiple lectures in that. So you will see that there is one what you say, one lecture which is termed as this open circuited phase voltage expression, something like that. Okay, so you will see that in that lecture he has discussed this derivation, but I'm not discussing the derivation. Okay, you can see that if you need. So this is the expression of the EMF per phase. You can just remember this, and we have seen this similar expression also in the case of induction machine. So because here also in the stator winding you have distributed windings, so you have this factor. So in this factor you have this distribution factor. We have seen this, right? KD, and also you have this sometimes this harmonic, that factor was there. So here also these factors come into picture. Okay, because of this distributed windings. Okay, so it is exactly same as the induction machine. Now this is also the expression of flux. This is flux per pole. So Bmax is the flux density in the air gap. L is the length of this this rotor. So you see this machine is like this, right? It is having this kind of length, and then R is the radius of the rotor. Okay, so this is the flux per pole. So this may be asked, like in this present assignment, they have not asked these two things, but they may ask in the exam. But you anyway have to remember this expression for induction machine. So it is exactly the same expression. Okay. Now you see what happens is, generally, suppose the all this your grid is connected, right? So how do you connect a new synchronous machine into the system? So you have to synchronize it, right? So let us discuss the process of synchronization briefly. So here what happens, that sometimes you remove your you stop your synchronous machine, you do some maintenance work, and then you want to connect it back, right? So you cannot just connect it like that. You cannot just connect the stator of the winding to the already existing grid just like that. Okay, so you have to follow some procedure that is called as synchronization. So in that, what is done is, what you have to do is, like, suppose there is a switch. Okay, so there are switches here. So this switch will connect here. So here sir has drawn the switches. Okay. So okay. So you will see that sir has drawn the switches here. Now what happens is that, so you see these three switches are like what? TP, TPS, like triple pole single throw switch. So what happens is, at once these three switches will get close to the system. Okay. So what you have is, you have the stator terminals of this synchronous machine available here, and you have the three-phase terminals of the grid here. So what you need to do is, when you have to connect this synchronous machine stator terminals to the grid, you have to ensure some four things. So what are the four things? So I'll just write. First of all, the frequency of the synchronous machine should be equal to the this frequency of the grid. Okay. The voltage magnitude of the this of this stator. So if you see, voltage magnitude of the synchronous machine should be equal to voltage magnitude of the grid. Then phase sequence should match. Should. And you will see that the voltage has a phase angle also, right? Because this is AC quantities. Now in the AC quantities, you also have phase angle. So what should also match is the phase angles of phase difference. Basically, phase difference between suppose this is VRS and this is VRG. So this angle of this VRS theta S and angle of this VRG theta G, this angle difference, phase angle difference theta S minus theta G should be 0. Okay, this phase angle difference should be 0. Why we want to do these things? So let us say that your volt, so because why you want to do it, if suppose the voltage magnitude here is not matching the voltage magnitude of this grid. So this is voltage magnitude of the synchronous machine and voltage magnitude of the grid. And then you try to close the switch. Now what will happen? You see, you will think that, okay, the voltage magnitude is only like what? 10, 20 volt or something. You do not know. Okay, it can be any, suppose you are not matching the voltage magnitude. Then what will happen is that you will see that the synchronous machines generally in the systems are of megawatt level. So what will happen is that when you try to close this switch, huge current will pass and it may damage this mechanical switches. Also, this huge current may damage the windings of that synchronous machine and may also damage other equipments in the grid. Okay. That is why you need to follow this process so that this all things are ensured. So what is this process? So we will see this method which sir has discussed. This is called as dark lamp method. Okay. Generally, it is not used these days. Earlier, it was used to be. Nowadays, we use synchro phasers, but this is also another method, dark lamp method. Okay. So what happens is that, so what you do, you connect a bulb between the, you have not closed the switch. Remember, switch is open. You have connected the bulbs in the three phases across this switch. So what will happen? So if suppose so let us say this is the phase AS of the synchronous machine, phase B, this is the phase BS of the synchronous machine, phase CS of the synchronous machine. Okay. And then you have the phase here, let us say this is, so let us use this green color only, I guess. So here you have phase AG of the grid. Okay, so sir has used some notations already here. Okay, so I'll just not use my notations, otherwise it will be confusing. So you see, sir has used AS, BS, CS for the grid. So you have AS, BS, CS for the grid. Okay. And then you have AM, BM, CM for the machine. Okay. So this is AM, BM, CM of the machine. Now what will happen is that at some instances of time, because these, so what happens is that one thing is that the two phasors, because you have made their frequency to be same by what you say properly controlling the prime over. So prime over basically decides the frequency of the this induced voltages in the stator, right? Because what happens is that depending on the speed, because what prime over will decide, prime over will decide speed of the field winding, which in turn decides frequency of the this E phase at E phase which we discussed earlier. Okay, of this E phase of the stator. So by controlling the prime mover input, like prime mover input can be various things. It can be the steam turbine, or it can be the hydropower. So there you have arrangements of controlling this prime mover, okay, by using appropriate controllers. So you can make this synchronous machine frequency to be equal to grid frequency, which in India is 50 hertz. Okay. So you can make this equal. Now, once you have made this equal, so what will happen? These two phasors will rotate at same frequency. So what will happen? This phasor AS of the grid and phasor AM of the machine, they will be stationary with respect to each other because they are rotating at same frequency or same speed, right? Now, what you have to ensure is that there should be no phase angle difference between the two phasors. And so, why? Because if there is phase angle difference also, let us say this is, so that you ensure that the voltage magnitude is same. Let us say you have ensured the voltage magnitude to be same. So, let us say this is magnitude AS and magnitude AM. So, this is magnitude AS and this is at some angle theta s, and let us say this is magnitude am and this is theta m. So even if this, let us say this magnitude is 1, so this is 1 angle 15 degree and this is 1 angle 0, still the current will flow, right? Because this angle, phase angle difference will also make the huge current to flow. That is why we have to make this phase angle difference between the two phases to be 0. Okay, this has to be 0, so that there is no current can flow. If you can make these two angles, so let us say this machine angle, this angle of the grid is fixed, so what you need to do, you have to make this angle as one angle as close to 15 degree, so that this current becomes 0, because this voltage difference is 0, exactly 0 in the magnitude, in the phase angle, so that your current becomes 0. So that is why you use this dark lamp method. Now in dark lamp method, what happens if this, so you will see that let us say this, let us discuss this case. Okay, so in this case you see what is happening, your phase angle difference is maximum. So AS and AM, you will see there will be there is a 180 degree, right? Similarly among the BM and BS and CM and CS, so what will happen, all the three lamps will be bright at the same time, because the phase angle difference is maximum. So through the lamps the maximum current will pass, so all the three lamps will become bright. However, as this AM, so AM will try to approach this AS. Okay, so what will happen is this phase angle difference will reduce and this lamps will slowly become dark. And then when the phase angle difference is exactly 0, then what will happen, they will, the lamps will be, all the lamps will be completely dark. So when the all the lamps are completely dark, that is the time when you have to close the switch. Okay, because at that point of time the phase angle difference is 0 in among the uh, two voltages, the voltages of the machine and the voltages of the grid. Okay, So so if suppose so that is why this synchronization process has to be done. Otherwise, if say the synchronization is not done properly, then what will happen is that the huge current will flow, and this will destroy the windings, the mechanical breakers, everything. So you have to ensure these four things when you have to do the synchronization. One is that the frequency should be as close to the frequency of the grid. It cannot be exactly 50 hertz. Otherwise, what will happen? This phasors will become stationary, right? So what will happen? The lamps, suppose you have made the frequency exactly same at this instance. So what will happen? The lamps will be bright all the time, right? So you keep some small frequency difference like this 49.95 hertz, so that this there is a slowly your lamps are becoming dark together, slowly your lamps are becoming bright together, like that, slowly. Okay, but it has to happen slowly. So so this has to be, so this frequency has to be as close to the grid frequency. Magnitude has to be the same. Phase sequence should be same. RYB and RYB should match here. And then phase angle difference has to be zero. It happens in dark lamp method when all the lamps have become dark together. Okay, so at that point of time, you have to connect your machine to the grid. Okay, so this is the synchronization process. Now, there is another thing which is the armature reaction. Now, here what happens is that first of all, you have your this field in the rotor. So this you have phi f, and because of this field, you have the EMF EF. Okay, so you till now you have not connected it to the load or grid, anything. You may connect the synchronous machine to the load, or you may connect it to the grid. Okay, but as soon as you connect it to the load or grid, then what happens? The current is started to be drawn. So let us say that this load is lagging, because in general the loads are lagging in the system. So because of this, the current IA is lagging the voltage. Okay, so this IA you can see is behind the voltage EF. It is down, right? And EF is up. So it is lagging. Now what happens that because of this IA, there is this flux phi A. Okay, so this is the armature flux. Because there is current in the armature, there will be flux in the armature. Now this flux in the armature will interact with this main flux in the field, so that you have a resultant flux like this. So what happens that in the synchronous machine, because of this armature flux, what happens, the resultant flux is produced, and the EMF earlier, before connecting the load, if suppose it was root 2 pi f phi f, because it was phi f, now it becomes phi r, because your overall flux has become something different because of this current, right? So that is why this is how it becomes like this. So this is called as armature reaction. Okay. So this has also been again discussed in detail. You can see that. Okay. But more or less I have covered what sir has said. So this is armature reaction. Okay. So this is how the armature reaction happens. Depending on the load, depending on the current, it may be lagging, it may be leading. Your armature reaction will vary and your resultant flux will vary in the system, so that your EMF, the overall EMF will be affected. Okay, this happens in the synchronous machine. Now let us see the this equivalent circuit of the synchronous machine. So now you can see this very properly, because the most of the questions in this assignment, and the assignment which I hope is given to you, is based on this equivalent circuit diagram. Okay. Hmm. So here you see you have, so as I said, your ER is there, right? After the armature reaction, your EF gets modified as ER. Okay, so this is ER here. So your EF is getting modified as ER. So what happens now? It is ER, and then you have the armature resistance RA, and this is your armature inductance XAL. Okay, so and this is the armature current, and this is the terminal voltage. Like after this, so this is the terminal voltage here, V voltage here. Okay, and this is ER after the armature reaction. So this is ER, and then there is armature resistance drop, this armature reactance drop, and then you have the terminal voltage here. But ER was happening. Why? ER was happening because of the armature reaction. So for modeling that, what you have is you have the actual EF because of the main field winding in the rotor. So you have EF, and then you are passing it through some XAR, which is modeling the armature reaction, and then you get the ER. Okay, so these are the equivalent equations. Like ER is what? ER, if you apply the KVL, so as you are moving, what you say, opposite to current IA, so it is becoming V plus IA into this drop in the resistance and in the reactance. Okay. Then what is EF? EF is what? EF is this ER plus this drop in this armature reactance. So this is ER plus J into IA XAR. Okay. So what happens? EF in terms of this terminal voltage can be written like this. Okay. So in general, this XAL plus XAR in the machine is represented as XS, which is the synchronous reactance. Okay. So this is very simple because generally the in synchronous machines are represented like this only, and EMF behind our resistance and the reactance. Okay, that is the very standard representation of the synchronous machine. Now, let us see the phasor diagram for the lagging power factor load. So here, so this is the standard way of drawing the phasor diagram. In the phasor diagram, what you do, you start with the terminal voltage because generally the terminal voltage or the infinite bus voltage is given as one angle zero. So generally the angle zero is taken as the reference for this terminal voltage. So we are starting from here. So we are assuming that it is at angle zero and it is having some magnitude B. Now, because of this, your current IA is lagging in nature. That is why this power factor theta, which is the power factor angle, you can say is behind it, IA is behind voltage B, right? Because your phasors are rotating like this. So you can see that V is ahead of IA in this direction. Okay. So that is why we say that okay, this is the IA is lagging B in this case. So what is the this theta? This theta is the power factor angle between the terminal voltage and the current IA, armature current of the synchronous machine. Now what will be the drop in the resistance RA? It will be IA into RA. And because it is resistance, and for the resistance, the voltage and the current across it are in phase. That is why the voltage drop in the resistance is in phase with the current IA. You can see here, right? You can see that these two are parallel. So this V plus IARA, because we have seen that what is EF? EF should be V plus IARA plus IAXL plus JIAXAR. Okay. Then what you have? After this IARA, you have JIAXS, because we have represented XAR plus XAL as XS. You can split it in two or you can draw them together. So you can see that here, for because this is what, this is inductance. So for the inductance, the voltage across the inductance leads the current by 90 degree. That is why we are drawing it 90 degree ahead of IA. So you can see that IA is here, but this JIA excess is 90 degree to this, right? So that is why this drop is drawn, voltage drop is drawn 90 degree to the phasor current phasor IA. Then so what is the EF? EF will be at this point because V plus IARA plus JIAXS is EF. Okay. So this is how this is how you draw the phasor. Okay. So it is coming from the equivalent circuit diagram only. Now we will see the power expressions. So what is IA? So let us say that this EF is at angle delta. So you see, we are saying that this angle EF is delta because V is the reference angle, because this is V angle 0. So this delta is between EF and V, whereas theta is the angle between this terminal voltage and IA. Okay. So Here you see, so we are saying that we are continuing the discussion. So we are saying that this current IA is EF angle delta. So this EF, which is the this EMF EF, which is at angle delta, you can see here. So EF angle delta minus V angle 0. And we are saying that let us say this ZS is angle beta. Sometimes it is written as theta also. But here sir has taken as beta. Okay. So what will be IA? IA can be written in this form, EF by ZS in magnitude. And because this beta was in the denominator, so when you are writing it in angle, it becomes delta minus beta. Okay. That is how you do the, so in complex numbers, what happens is that let us say you have, let us say you have x1 angle theta 1 by x2 angle theta 2. So it is generally written as x1 by s2 angle theta 1 minus theta 2. And let us say you have x1 angle theta 1 into x2 angle theta 2. So it is written as x1, x2 and the angles are added up. Okay. So this is how the complex number multiplication and division is done. Okay. So this is what is done here also. So because this is EF by Z is and then delta minus beta, and here minus V by Z is 0 minus beta, which gives you minus beta here. Okay, like this. So what is the complex power delivered by the source? So delivered by, because we are considering that this is synchronous generator. So for the generator, this is the power output. So power output is at the terminal, this terminal voltage. So power output is VIA conjugate, but because this is equivalent circuit diagram per phase, so for 3 phases it will be multiplied by 3. Okay. So this becomes 3 into V angle 0, and this is your IA, right? Now you are doing IA conjugate. Now because you are doing IA conjugate, so whatever is the angle, so here it was delta minus beta. Now the angle will become negative because of this conjugate sign. Okay, and here it was minus beta, it becomes plus beta. This is happening because of the conjugate operation in the complex numbers. Now, what is your complex power? Complex power expression is 3. So you multiply this 3 into VEF by ZS, and this 0 plus beta minus delta, because of this multiplication, this is added up angles. So this becomes beta minus delta minus 3 V square by ZS, and this is angle beta. Okay, so this is the complex power expression. You can write the expression of the active and reactive power. So what will be the expression of active power? P active will be real part of S, this real part of this expression, which is 3 VEF by ZS. You can write this is in the pole in this rectangular form, like cos of beta minus delta plus j sine beta minus delta, like that. Okay, and then if you take the real part of it, it comes out to be cos of beta minus delta minus 3 V square by ZS cos beta. Okay, so this is the expression of the real power. Now here in this expression, we will take some special case, because generally you will see in the synchronous machine, RA is very small compared to this XS. Okay. So what happens that this ZS is equal to RA plus JXS. So this is J. Okay. Can be written roughly as JXS. So what happens to ZS? ZS becomes equal to XS angle 90 degree, because J is 90 degree, right? So I am writing it in this form as XS angle 90. So in this expression of active power, this expression which I have written here, if you replace this ZS angle beta, because remember beta is the theta, beta is this angle of this ZS. So earlier we were writing it as ZS angle beta, but now ZS angle beta is XS 90 degree. So what happens? The ZS magnitude is XS now and beta is 90 degree. So in this expression, if you replace it by 90 degrees, so it becomes 3 EF by XS, because magnitude is XS for ZS, and this is 90 minus delta minus 3 V square by ZS cos 90. Because this is cos 90, it becomes 0. So what you're left with, you're left with this expression of the power, which is the very popular expression of power, right? So we have seen, so you would have seen this expression many times, that power of the synchronous machine is 3 times of EFV XS sine delta, or EV by X sine delta. Okay, so this is the expression of the power PG, and if you draw it, this power versus delta, this is what you will get. Okay, a this sinusoid. Okay. Now, this is the power expression for the motor. Similarly, for the motor, the only difference between the generator expression and the motor expression is the IA. Because in here, IA was how, what is the direction of IA? IA was flowing because this EF angle delta was more than V angle 0. Then that is why the power was coming out of the generator. That is why EF angle delta minus V angle 0. However, here, because motor draws current from the supply, so this V angle 0 is more than EF angle minus delta. Now you will see we are writing minus delta because we know that for the motor, if you similarly draw this phasor diagram, na, you will see that for the motor this EF will come down. Okay, so I'm just drawing here. If you draw the phasor diagram similarly for the motor, you will see that this EF motor will come down. That is why this angle is denoted as minus delta, because it is behind 0. Okay, it is less than 0. To denote that it is less than 0, we are writing it as minus delta. So that is why this is written as EF minus angle delta by this ZS beta. So the only difference between the earlier case and this case is the IA. You can see that the IA, because of the motor, it is coming from the terminal to the machine, whereas in the synchronous machine, it was going from the synchronous machine to the terminal. Okay, that is the difference in the IA. And because of this change in the IA expression, the power expression also gets modified. Okay, you can just see this power expression. Now this is what? This is the input power drawn by the motor. Here it was the power output of the machine. So this was power output of the synchronous generator. This is the input power drawn by the motor. Okay. So is there any doubt in these things? I have discussed the things briefly, and I think these are most of the things which sir has discussed also. Some things which I was not able to discuss in this time, because I also have to discuss questions, is this expression, this detailed derivation of this expression. This expression is discussed in detail, which we have seen also for the induction machine. Okay. It is the same derivation. You can see it again in this lectures also sir has discussed here. And this armature reaction also, you can maybe discuss it. Sir has again discussed only this much only. So I have discussed this much, but you will see that in the armature reaction, you will take various cases. Let us say this current we have here, we have taken lagging, right? So what happens if this current is exactly lagging by 90 degree? So you will see that the armature reaction, if suppose, let us, so these are some special cases. So this is EF and phi F. So let us say that IA, this armature current is ZPF lag. So ZPF lag means your current is lagging by 90 degree. Okay. So you will see that IA is like this. So your phi A is also like this. So because your phi A is like this, you can see that this is what? This is 180 degree and exactly opposite. So in this case, it is called as directly demagnetizing. Okay, armature reaction. Similarly for UPF, so if suppose IA is UPF, so this is phi F, this is EF. Now for UPF, what happens? This EF, IA should be in phase with the voltage. So IA is here. So this is for UPF. Now you will see that for IA is here, so phi A is also here. So you can see that this is 90 degrees. So for UPF, armature reaction is cross magnetizing. Okay. These things sir has not discussed, so it may not come in the exam also, but I'm just writing it here. You can understand, okay, that if because you can see this is 90 degree, here it is directly opposite. Similarly, if you take ZPF lead, suppose your IA is ZPF lead. So what happens? This is your EF, this is your phi F. Now what happens to the armature current? Because it is leading IA, so IA will be here. And what about phi A? Phi A will also be here in phase with IA. So you can see that in this case, it is directly magnetizing. Okay. For the motor, because this is all the discussion for the generator, because we have all drawn all this taking the phasor diagram of the generator, you have obtained these things. But for the motor, it is exactly opposite. For ZPF lead, it is directly demagnetizing. For ZPF lag, it is magnetizing like that. Okay. And for UPF, it is still cross magnetizing. Okay. So these things are as not discussed, but these things also are is interesting. Okay, you can see it in Nagrath Kotari if you are interested. It will not come in the exam, but for just for your interest, you can see it here. Okay, electrical machines. Oh, sorry, electrical machine. Okay, so these things though will not come in the exam because sir has not discussed. Okay, now let us see the questions. So, is there anything someone wants to ask particularly? Like I've discussed some basics things, okay, because this is what sir has also discussed. So whatever I've discussed, is there any doubt in that? If you have any time doubt, please ask, okay, don't hesitate, I'll clear it.
Sure, sir.
Hmm. Now I'll just discuss the questions. I know that I have discussed lots of things, okay, because this synchronous machine sir has discussed in the last 2 weeks, so he has tried to discuss as much as things for the 2 weeks, okay. So maybe if one more week was there, then it would not feel that pressed. But these are not very difficult things. We hear these things, right? You would have done your this dark lamp method thing. Maybe in your BTech, some experiment you would have done. Similarly, this synchronization experiment is generally done in BTech. Okay. Then you would have seen this equivalent circuit diagram multiple times when you're writing the synchronous machine. You would have seen this expression of power, right? When you're writing the synchronous machine. So these things only. And you just have to remember this. If you want to properly solve the problems, you just have to remember diagram, this equivalent circuit diagram, and just know how the power this phasor diagram looks like. Okay, that is all. Yeah. So now let us see the questions. Questions are not very difficult, they're very easy questions. Okay, you will see. So they are saying that a three-phase 280-volt line-to-line star-connected round rotor synchronous machine has an excitation voltage of 330-volt line-to-line and a synchronous impedance of J6.4 ohm per phase. It is feeding 4 kilowatt power to a 280-volt line-to-line infinite bus. So they are asking you to estimate the load angle. Okay. So let us now write down some things. Okay. First of all, what this is a 280-volt line-to-line star-connected round rotor. So what is your E phase? Your E phase is 280 by root 3 because this is star connected. So for the star connected, what is the relation between the line to line voltage and the phase voltage? This is how the line to line voltage and phase voltage is related for the star connection. And they are saying that the it is feeding the infinite bus 280-volt line to line. Similarly, the V phase of the infinite bus is what it is. Okay, a three-phase 280-volt star connected has an excitation voltage of 330 volt. So excitation voltage E phase is 330. Okay, not 280. I think here they have done some mistake. They should also write this as 330. Okay, maybe they are mentioning the terminal voltage, but generally the this excitation voltage is mentioned. Okay, so this is 330. And V phase for this infinite bus is 280. So this is 280 by root 3. And what about the impedance? So impedance ZS is what? RA plus JXS. Now RA they have not said. RA they have not mentioned, so it is 0. So what is the impedance? It is J 6.4 ohm. So you can see that it is what? It is completely imaginary, right? And then they are saying that the power of this power which is it is feeding to the grid is 4 kilowatt. Remember, this is three phase power. Okay. Now we know where it is going, right? This is where it is going. You can see this because this RA is neglected. So ZS is equal to JXS, which so here this is the expression of the power, right? When this RA is neglected, so the expression of power is 3 EFV by XS sine delta, which is the active power, and delta is the load angle. So this is the angle which they are asking. Sometimes this delta is called as load angle. Sometimes it is called as power angle also. Okay. So I'm just writing here. So they're asking that load angle slash power angle. Okay. So we know what is the expression. Expression is 3 E phase V phase by XS sine delta. This is equal to 3 phase power. So what is this E phase? E phase is 330 by root 3. V phase is 280 by root 3. And XS is how much? 6.4. So this is 6.4 sine delta is what? Three phase power 4 kilowatt, 4,000. So from this you can find the value of delta, right? It is simple question. So is there any doubt in this question? It's very simple.
No, sir.
Okay. Now we'll go to the next question. Now in this next question, what you have to find? You have to find the value of the line current. Now you see for the synchronous machine which is star connected. So this is the star connected synchronous machine like this. Okay. So for the star connection, this phase current is equal to line current, right? And we have seen the expression of this phase current using the equivalent circuit diagram of the synchronous machine here. This is the synchronous machine equal circuit diagram, right? With this EF angle delta minus V angle 0 by Z, this Z angle theta, right? So from this expression, we can find the phase current because this equivalent circuit diagram is per phase. And because we have found the phase current for the star connection, line current is equal to phase current. So we can just find it. Okay. So this is what? This is E phase angle delta minus V angle 0 by JXS. This is the I phase or IL. So what is the E phase? E phase is given as 330 but line to line, remember. So we have to take phase voltage. So this is 330 by root 3. Angle delta. Delta we have found from the previous question. So you will see that delta was this angle 16.084. Okay. So this is 16.084 minus V. So V is 280 volt. Line to line, so you have to take phase. Okay, because this is from the equivalent circuit diagram which is per phase. Okay, that is why we have to take everything as phase. This is 280 by root 3 angle 0 whole divided by j xs. So what is xs? 6.4. So this is j 6.4. So this is the expression of your phase current or line current, is it not? This is also very simple. Okay. So if you have any doubt, please ask anytime. Okay. Now I will go to the next question. Now in the next question, they're asking you to find the power factor. Now we have seen from the phasor diagram what is the power factor angle, right? So I'm just, okay, there is no eraser coming for this. Maybe I've saved it. So you will see what is this power factor angle. So this was the power factor angle here. This one. So you can see that the power factor angle, this power factor angle theta, is between the voltage V angle 0 and current IA. right? So we have to find the angle of IA, because this is what, if you write it in the actual form, so this is V angle 0, and IA you write what, it is behind 0 by theta, so you are writing it as minus theta, because it is behind, minus. Okay, if it was if it was above IA like this, then you would have written IA angle plus theta, but it is not, right? It is behind. That is why we are whatever angle will come, you will see it will come negative for the lagging power factor. Okay. So so you see, when you will you when you found out your line current expression, you saw that this angle theta is already coming negative because it power factor is lagging. Okay, that is why this is coming as negative on its own. So this is minus 22. So this is the angle between the terminal voltage, this V angle 0, because we have taken 280 angle 0 here, right? So this is the angle from this voltage to this current. This angle is 22.07. So you just have to take cos of minus 22.07. So this is the power factor for this power factor angle. So you just get the power factor like this. Okay. Now they're asking you what is the nature of power factor. So we have seen that this current angle is minus 22. So it is lagging the 0 because it is coming as negative. So because it is behind 0 because of being negative, that is why this is drawing like this is lagging power factor. So this is lagging current. So that is why the power factor is also lagging in nature. Okay. So is there any doubt till now?
No, sir.
Okay. What about others? I hope others are also okay with these things. Okay, if you have doubt, so ask. Okay. So you can see that the theories which I discussed, it looked so heavy, but the questions are very simple, right? So you will see that the most of the questions are from these, either the phasor diagram or this equivalent circuit diagram or the power expression. That is all. This last, this from this slide onwards. So this slide, and maybe this slide. Okay. This is the if you find that other things are too much, these things are just the theory questions, and this is for the toppers. Okay, this decides the toppers. Basically, these theory questions can be done by the people who have understood everything clearly. Okay, and these questions you can score easily, this equivalent circuit diagram and all, and you can get very decent scores by also even following these 3 4 slides of the discussion. Okay, so this question also we have discussed. Now let us go to the next question. Now in the next question, what you have to do? You have to estimate the maximum power deliverable by this generator without changing the field excitation. Now we have seen that because you are taking this JXS. So what is your power angle curve? So this is your power angle curve, which is EV by X sine delta. This is E phase. Okay, E phase, V phase, 3 times XS sine delta. Now you will see that as because this is power versus delta. Okay. So it is varying as the sign of the delta, right? Now, when this is maximum, so it is maximum when delta is maximum. eh, Sine delta is maximum. This power PG will be maximum when your sine delta is maximum. And what is the maximum value of sine delta? It is 90 degree, for which the sine delta is 1, which is maximum. Okay. So you will see that the maximum power deliverable by this machine is 3 E phase V phase by XS sine 90, which is 3 E phase V phase by XS into 1. So this becomes 3 into E phase, which is 330 volt by root 3, into V phase, which is 280 volt by root 3, divided by XS. XS is 6.4. So this is the value of your maximum power, PG max. Okay. So this is also a very simple question. Now let's go to some questions which are little bit little bit you have to understand. Okay, so here these questions were very simple because you are neglecting the armature resistance, right? Now these questions you have to also consider the armature resistance. That is why you have to understand these things, this phasor diagram with the including the armature resistance, and also this expression of power, which is the generalized expression of power considering the ZS, which consists of RA plus JXS. Okay, so now little bit you have to understand these things. Okay, then you can these things, so you don't even need to listen to these lectures, this whatever I discussed right now, because these things you know this very standard expression of this power, this power versus delta for this for this exactly reactive loads. This is a very well known thing. Okay, so you can solve this even without my discussion. Now this is little bit of the what you say later part of the discussion, depending on which I discussed related to the phasor diagram and this power. Okay, now they have given you this three-phase 350-volt delta connected synchronous motor, which is having a synchronous impedance. Now you can see that here there is RA also. Okay, so you cannot take that power expression, and an excitation voltage of 368 volt line to line, and this is the rotational loss. Now they are saying to estimate the line current under the maximum power input condition. So what is the synchronous? This is the synchronous motor. So let us quickly draw the this diagram of the synchronous motor. So here you have E angle minus delta, because for synchronous motor it is lagging, right? That is why it is taking the current from the uh, this this extra terminal voltage at angle 0. Then only it can draw the current, right? So this is V angle 0. So this is impedance and this is some resistance. So this is RA JXS. Okay. And this is collectively represented as Z angle theta. Okay. So this is the thing. And this is the phase current, IP. IP or I phase. Okay. Now you see, so what is the input, what is the input power drawn by the motor? So they are saying maximum input power condition. Okay. Now what is the maximum input power? So power drawn by motor is first of all V into IP conjugate. This V is V phase. Remember, this is per phase voltage. Okay. Because this is an equivalent circuit diagram which is per phase, right? So this has to be 3 V phase IP conjugate. So this is the power drawn by the motor. So we have to write the expression of the power drawn by the motor. So what is this expression? So even if you do not remember this exact formulas, you can quickly derive it in the exam. It will not take that much time. So here you see, what is your IP? IP is this V phase angle 0, because current is coming like this. So V phase angle 0 minus E angle minus delta by Z angle theta, because this is Z angle theta. Now, what will be your 3 V phase into IP conjugate? So IP conjugate, so I'm writing this as IP conjugate, is what? It is, so I'm writing another step. This is V phase by Z. This is minus theta because 0 minus theta. And this is E by Z minus delta minus theta. So this is conjugate of this. So this becomes V phase by Z angle plus theta, because minus theta becomes plus theta for conjugate. And this is minus E by Z. This is minus delta minus theta. So this becomes delta plus theta. Okay. So this is the expression of the power. So this is IP, and this is the expression of the power. So this is what is the power expression? It is 3 V phase square by Z. If you take the real part of this, so if you take, because this is complex expression, so if you take the real part of this, you will get the active power. So if you take the real part of this, it comes like this. So this is cos theta minus 3 V phase, this is E phase, by Z cos delta plus theta. So this is the expression of the active power. Now they are saying maximum active input power drawn condition. So what is the maximum input power drawn? So maximum input power will be drawn when this minus this, because this is minus, right? So this cos of delta plus theta. So this cos of when cos plus delta plus theta is -1, then this power will be maximum as, so this Pg max will be 3 V phase square by Z cos theta plus हो जाएगा. Then this minus will become plus. Okay. So this will be 3 V phase E phase by Z. Because cos of delta plus theta is -1, so I'm not writing cos of delta plus theta. So this is what is your this should be your condition for maximum power. So what is this delta plus theta then? So delta plus theta should be 180 degree. So what is your theta? So theta you can find from this impedance. So for the given impedance, so this impedance is RA plus JXS is 0.2 plus J8. So theta is tan inverse XS by RA, which is tan inverse 8 by 0.2. So you can find this out. It is some 88.56 degree. So what is delta? It is 180 minus theta, which is 180 minus 88.56. Okay. So this will give you some value of delta. Okay. So, sorry. So that will be the value of delta now. Now, what is the current drawn for the induction motor? Then now they are asking you estimate the line current under the maximum input power condition. Now you be very careful. Okay, they are asking you the line current. So this is the phase current, right? I phase for the motor is V phase angle 0. So V phase we know from the question as this is what is V phase. V phase is given as so this is 350 volt. Okay, so this is generally V phase. So this is 350 by root 3 because V phase, remember. So 350 by root 3 is V phase. E is what? Excitation voltage of, so this is 368 by root 3. So this E is 368 by root 3. Okay, and what about your what about delta? Delta you can find from here, 180 minus theta for the maximum power condition. So you have some value of delta. So you can write here as delta. Okay. And then here, what is your, and you know Z angle theta. So you will get the phase current. Now, remember, always check the connection. So they are saying delta connected. So for the delta connected machine, so for the star connected machine, line current is equal to phase current. But for delta connection, line current is equal to root 3 times of phase current. So this you have to ensure properly. Okay. This you have to always check whether the connection of the machine is delta or star. Depending on that, you have to take with the line current value. Okay. So is this question clear? I know this question was little bit lengthier than the previous questions, but if this question is clear, then you can solve the remaining questions also. Solve the remaining questions are very similar, okay, to this question. So is this question clear?
Yes,
So if there is doubt, so please ask, because you also have to solve your present assignment, right? So you have to get your doubts cleared. Now we will go to the next. Now they're asking, then they're asking you what? They're asking you to estimate the power factor under the maximum power input condition. So what is the power factor? So this is your V angle 0. Okay. And whatever is your current IA. So you have found this current I. You can find this. So here you have to enter the magnitude value. But if you find this value of this I line or I phase, you will find some angle of this current. Okay. So whatever is that angle, that angle cos you have to take, then you will get the power factor. Okay. Because you will get this current IA with some angle, some minus theta or something. Okay. So this will be the theta, which is corresponding to this. So you will take this as just cos theta. But since you can find it in another way. So what is the another way is that you know that for the maximum input power condition, so for the maximum input power condition, this is the maximum input power, Pg max, when this cos of delta plus theta was -1. So this is the expression of the maximum power, right? So this Pg max, I'm writing again here, is 3 V phase square cos theta by z plus 3 V phase E phase by z. Now you know everything here. You know the value of V phase, which is 350 by root 3. E phase as 368 by root 3. And theta also, you know, theta is tan inverse of this XS by RA, which is tan inverse of XS is here as 8 and RA is 0.2. So 8 by 0.2. Okay. So you know all this theta, E phase, V phase. So you know V phase, you know theta, you know E phase, and what is this Z? Z you have to write in magnitude form. So Z will be the magnitude of 0.2 plus J8, which will be root over of 8 square plus 0.2 square. So you know all these things. So if you substitute here, you can get the value of Pg max. Okay, so you will get some value 49432, something like that when you substitute. Okay, now you will see that the expression of active power is root 3 VL IL cos phi. Okay, where this VL is V phase. This V, so this I just write here. So this is also the expression of Pg max. PG max ne PG in general, active power in general, where this VL is root 3 times of V phase. And here they have anyway given line to line voltage, VL only they have given. Okay. And IL, value of IL we know from the previous question. In this question, we found the value of line current only, right? IL. So you know IL, and you have just now found the power PG max. So you can just find, you know VL. V line to line is given in the question. You know line current from the previous question here, IL. And you know you have calculated PG. So from this you can calculate the value of cos phi, right? So that is what the power factor is. So power factor is this. Or you can, when you are finding the expression of the current, if you do it in the phasor form, you will get the current with some phase angle theta. That theta only you have to take cos theta. Okay. Then it will directly give you the power factor, or you can find the power factor like this also. Okay. Those two methods will give you exactly same answer. Okay. Now we move to the next question. Now in this next question, you have to estimate the net shaft power under the maximum power input condition. So what is the shaft power? So here this is the equivalent circuit like this. Okay. So here you are taking this V into IA conjugate, which is P in. But but when it is coming to this machine, it is having some copper losses in the resistance. So it will be so there will be some copper losses. Okay. So this VIA conjugate, which maximum power which you found, the value of maximum power here using this formula. Okay. From this formula of maximum power, you take out the copper losses. Okay. 3 Ia square R, this is per phase, right? 3, this, because this is current is per phase. This is per phase equivalent circuit diagram. So you have to take 3. Okay. Now, P max minus 3 I phase square RA will give you the power which is available at this motor terminals. Okay. So this will give you power at motor terminal. And then when you take out this frictional losses from this power at motor terminal, this rotational losses which they have mentioned. Okay, so you will get the shaft power. So what you have to do, you from this power, a value of power which you have obtained using this. Okay, so this is the value of power which you have obtained by this formula. From this power, this you have to take out the copper losses. So what is the copper losses? Copper losses is 3. So this is copper loss 3 I phase square into RA, because this is phase current, and that is why we have to take 3 times for all the 3 phases. So what is RA? RA is 0.2. 3 into 0.2. Now what is the phase current? Now in the first question we found the value of line current, but for the delta connection the phase current is I line current by root 3, right? Line current by root 3. So you have to write I line by root 3 square. So this is what you will get here. So I line from the first question is this value divided by root 3 will give you phase current. Square you take into RS into 3 for the 3 phases. So you will get copper loss for the 3 phases. Then from this input power, the value of input power which you, maximum input power which you obtained, from that value you subtract this copper loss, and then you subtract the rotational loss. So you will get this shaft output power. Okay. So is this question clear? All these are, till now the questions are clear. So you will see that all these questions are related. Okay. That is why you will find that, okay, it is taking little bit of time, but don't worry. You will see that somehow or the other, something you are using. So you will get multiple questions correct. Okay. If you spend some time. So don't worry if you think that this is little bit lengthy. Okay. So now they're asking you the efficiency. So what is the efficiency? So efficiency is, efficiency is shaft power output by the input into 100 for percentage, because they're asking in percentage. So this is the shaft power which you found from this question, and the input power you found from this question. Just have to take the ratio of the two. So this is the output power and this is the input power here. So so here this is the input power and here this is the output power. So just take the ratio of the two and multiply by 100, you'll get percentage. Okay. So that is what is done in this question. Okay. Now they're asking you to, now they're repeating the same questions, but now they're asking you to estimate the line current under the maximum power output condition. Okay. Now they're asking you to do the derivation in some different way. Okay. So let us draw the equivalent circuit diagram. So this is E angle minus delta. This is your V angle 0. And 8 minute. And this is I phase. Okay. So you can do it in multiple ways. They have done the derivation in different form, but I will use the same notations, V angle 0 and E angle minus delta, because that is what we have been continuously using. So I'll just continue with this. Okay, I'll derive it. So what is your I phase? I phase we have seen for the motor, it is V angle 0 minus, this is, remember, all phase because this is from the equivalent circuit, right? Minus delta by Z angle theta. This is the expression of phase current. Now, when will be the maximum power output? Maximum power output will be obtained when the power here across this synchronous machine is maximum. So what is the power at synchronous machine? It is 3, this voltage we are taking across the synchronous machine. Now, instead of taking the voltage here, the terminal voltage, because when we are saying power given to the supply or power taken from the supply, maximum power input condition, then, or maximum power output for the generator, then we are talking at this terminal. But because we want the this maximum power here, so that we get the maximum power at the output, we will be taking the power across this. So this, for this voltage, you have to take this E phase angle minus delta into I phase conjugate. Okay. So this is the change. So instead of taking V angle 0, which we were taking earlier, now we are taking this E phase angle minus delta. Okay. So now let us now write this expression. So this is 3 E phase angle minus delta. And what is this I phase conjugate? This is, I'm just writing directly. So this is because V phase by Z minus theta. So conjugate, if I take minus theta, becomes plus theta. Then this was minus E phase by Z. Here it was minus delta minus theta. Here it becomes delta plus theta. Okay. So if you do this, you will get 3 E phase V phase by Z theta minus delta. And here you have minus 3 E phase square by Z. And this minus delta and delta plus theta, it becomes theta. Okay. So if you take the real part of this, so I'm just writing real part here, it becomes 3 E phase V phase by Z cos of theta minus delta minus 3 E phase square by Z cos of theta. Okay. So this is what you will get. Now, if you see, so when will be the power maximum? When this theta minus delta is 0, such that cos of 0 is 1. So you will get maximum here. So for maximum power, delta should be theta. So they have derived it in the different way. They are also getting the same value. You see, same condition they are getting. Okay, so delta equal to theta. So here also you have to find the line current. So for the line current, what you have to do, this V phase. So first of all, this is line current. So line current will be root 3 times of this because it is delta connected. So here you have to write equal to root 3 times minus E phase. And delta is what? Delta is equal to theta for maximum power output. So minus theta by Z angle theta. So here you know everything. You know phase voltage. If phase voltage is given as 350 by root 3. This excitation voltage phase, this is 368 by root 3. Theta, you know, like this, theta is equal to tan inverse XS by RA. And Z is equal to root over of XS square plus RA square. So you know all this. So in this expression, you can substitute. So you will get the value of your line current. Okay. And you will see interestingly that you can solve using this or you can solve in this method also. You will get the same answer. Okay. So you should not worry that, okay, they have derived it in different way. I have done something different, but you will see that you will get the same thing. Okay. Finally. And they are again, then they, what they are doing, they are also finding the value of maximum gross output power. So this maximum power expression I have found out here. So for me, the power expression is like this. So because this maximum power, right? So this comes out to be 3 E phase V phase by Z. This cos of theta minus delta is 1 minus 3 E phase square by Z cos theta. Now you see the expression which I have obtained, you see, and the expression which they have obtained. Can you see that? They're exactly same, right? So don't worry, okay? You just have to know uh, this phasor notations properly. If you know that, you will get the same expressions, okay? In whichever way you do. So you will see that the expressions of this gross output power is same for my thing and what they have derived, okay? So that also they have found out because it will be used later. So now they are saying estimate the power factor under the maximum power output condition. So here also you can do the same thing, that you can do root 3 VL IL cos theta is equal to PG. So PG gross output power they have found here 47016 by putting it in the formula. So this is 47016. And then you know root 3. VL is what? VL is root 3 times of V phase. I line you can find from root 3 times of I phase cos theta, because anyway we found the line current in this question. So you can just directly write the line current value also 108.5. Don't need to do this root 3 I phase. So you have root 3 into root 3 V phase. V phase is 350 volt. 350 volt line to line is VL root 3 V phase. Okay. So this is 350. From the previous question, line current value is 108.54. So 108.54, and cos theta is this 47016. So if you do this, you will get the power factor cos theta. Okay. Now in the next question, they're asking you to estimate the net shaft power. Now you remember, just remember one thing, that now we have found the power here. Remember that the P max we have found here. Earlier we found here. That is why when we were going from here to this, we had to take copper loss. But because we have found the power here, you did not need to subtract the copper loss again, because already in this power expression, you have accounted for the copper loss. Okay. So that is why so from this P max, you can just subtract the shaft power. So you will get the maximum power, net output power. So here you had the maximum gross output power from this calculate, from putting it in this formula for this maximum power condition. And then you just subtracted the rotational loss. You got the maximum net output power. And then in the next question, they're asking you the efficiency. So efficiency is this. So here you had this output. So after the shaft power, after subtracting the rotational power and before subtracting the rotational power, you can just take those two ratios. Okay. So you see what they have done. I'll just tell you one thing. So right. So you see. I'll just explain to you what. So you have, that is why you have to understand where you derived the power expression. Since you derived the power expression here, so for getting the P input power, what you have to do, because you have to go from here to here, resistance is coming in between. So P in should be PG plus P copper loss, right? So that is why when you are taking the input power, so in the input power, you have to include the copper losses. Okay. Earlier, what we did, earlier question, you found the PG here. So PG was equal to P in, but but when we wanted the shaft power, so for the shaft power, what you had to do, you're going with resistance in between. So for the shaft power, you had to take out the copper loss, and you'd have to take out the shaft or this rotational loss. But here, because you are here, so that is why this P shaft power is PG minus just the rotational loss. Okay, so so in this input power, when you are finding for this condition, because we have found the Pg here, but input power is here, so input power should also include the copper loss. So that is why for the P in, when whatever expression of maximum gross output power you have found, in that expression you have to add this copper loss. Okay, then you will get the overall input power. So when you get the overall input power, you can take that, and shaft output power we have already obtained from this question. Just take the ratio of 2 and you'll get the efficiency. Okay. So this was the last question. So is there any doubt in these questions which I discussed?
No, sir.
Okay. So what about other people? I hope you don't have any doubt. Is it clear for the other people also? So if there is no doubt, then I'm stopping the lecture here. Okay, you can, so we will meet again the next week. So that is it for today's class. Okay. So, so I'm stopping the class here today. You can leave if you want to leave. If you have doubts, you can ask. Okay. So, okay, Nitin, do you have any doubt?
No, ma'am. Thank you.
Ha, okay. Okay. Thank you. Then, okay, then I'm leaving. Okay. You can also leave. Okay. Ha. Okay. Okay. Okay then.